This is CBC Here and Now.
It's been about 3.5 months since urgent care opened up here in Whitburn.
The hours lately are so sporadic and ever-changing.
They don't know which days are going to be open.
We'll get an assessment from locals about how it's going.
The provincial government has been struggling to improve fertility services in this province. Now the Health Authority is dealing with an email privacy breach involving those trying to grow their families.
All of our emails were kind of just all out there, first and last names.
That story coming up.
Detour sign after detour sign. There are construction sites all over the city of Brook right now.
It's difficult for people, but it's necessary.
I'll give you an update on what's going on.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We begin in Whitburn tonight with a close look at the state of urgent care. Hospital emergency services have been available for about 3.5 months, but before that, the ER was closed for 8 months straight. Now, local leaders are pleased some health services are restored, but they say urgent care is inconsistent. Heather Gillis has our top story.
The sign for the now defunct emergency room still hangs outside the Dr. William H. Newhook Health Centre. That's even though the ER here in Whitburn has been closed for more than a year due to a shortage of doctors. In mid-March, an urgent care clinic reopened in the ER's place, aiming to operate 8 to 4, 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. But the schedule hasn't been consistent. Some weeks it's open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or another combination of days. Whitburn Mayor Hilda Whalen calls coverage uneven.
Well, a lot of people are concerned about the schedule and they don't know which days are going to be open. But I tell most people, just call the clinic as you would for a doctor's appointment. And what is happening is they are finding doctors, maybe locums, or if they can get a spare doctor that's not in a hospital somewhere, they're trying to fill in there. That's how desperate and how few doctors we have.
24/7! Andrew Pretty, who's organized demonstrations to demand better health care in the area, agrees. He says people are frustrated.
The hours lately are so sporadic and ever-changing. It's impossible for people involved with the committee to keep up with it, let alone someone from the public trying to figure out if it's open or not.
Health officials promised this urgent care clinic would be open 3 days a week and would eventually expand to 7 days a week once they recruit more healthcare staff. But the same problem facing the ER is now facing urgent care. Too few doctors. And while both local leaders want to see a 24/7 ER restored, Whalen says there are bottlenecks preventing that from happening. They both would like to see Memorial University accept more internationally trained doctors to get licensed and trained to practice in Canada faster.
They're only taking, I believe, 7 practice-ready assessments positions this year. And once they're filled, there's no more going to be offered.
And I think the government themselves are finding that it's not so easy to recruit doctors as they thought. I know you heard me say, put the money on the table. Well, it's not all about money. They also need to be licensed.
And Pretty says the sporadic hours will skew stats officials use to measure how well urgent care is working. Heather Gillis, CBC News, Whitburn.
Personal information about people going through fertility treatment has been leaked by the Health Authority. The Health Authority is apologizing, but one patient is speaking out tonight on the impact for her. Here and Now's Terry Roberts reports.
Kelsey Puddester Collins was shocked when she opened an email on Tuesday from the province's health authority. The message was asking for feedback on the fertility subsidy program. But when she looked closely, she noticed that she could see the email addresses of dozens of other people who also received the message. People like her and her partner who have been trying to have a child, but struggling with fertility issues.
I realized that I was carbon copied with 126 other people, so they forgot to BCC us in the email. And so all of our emails were kind of just all out there, first and last names and emails for everyone to see.
NL Health Services acknowledged the breach of privacy in a letter to the patients, saying, "When this email was sent, we did not blind copy the recipients. Therefore, all those in receipt of this email could see your email address. We deeply regret and sincerely apologize for this error."
The health authority is asking recipients not to share the email. In fact, they're asking them to delete it immediately.
And they want recipients to write the health authority to confirm that it has been deleted. The health authority issued a news release this afternoon saying the breach affected 116 fertility patients, once again apologizing and promising to do better. "We will continue to work on ensuring proper protocols are followed with mass communication and reinforce awareness among healthcare workers of their obligation to maintain the privacy of our patients, residents, and clients." The health authority has notified the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner. This couple appreciates the apology, but say their struggles with fertility have been grueling, physically and emotionally painful, and now they feel violated.
So many people are in the middle of a fertility cycle already so stressed, so taxed with the physical and mental struggles of doing these cycles already. To have this on top of what is already an extremely difficult process is just overwhelming for so many people, myself included.
Puffin Collins has been very public about her fertility struggles, but says she does so on her own terms. She's also speaking out today for those who are quietly going through the process and now have to deal with this breach.
There are people on that list, names that I recognize that I would never have guessed are doing IVF, and I am here for them. I am here because I believe it's my job to stand up for people who don't feel like they can or don't feel like they want to expose themselves in that way.
There have been promises to make in vitro fertilization services available in the province. Currently, people have to travel to clinics in other provinces, with government subsidies to help offset the cost. A review of the province's fertility services are underway and could be completed by this fall. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
The province says it's reducing how often it reports COVID information. After today's update, the information will now come out monthly instead of every 2 weeks. In the last 2 weeks, there were 5 COVID-19 deaths. All were aged 70 or older. 12 people were hospitalized during that period because of the disease. And a fire ban is now in place for Western Labrador. The town of Labrador City and the town of Wabush issued the ban today for the communities and surrounding cabin areas. The ban applies to open fires, fireworks, backyard fire pits, wood-burning barbecues, cooking stoves, and backyard smokers.
Yeah, and the reason for that fire ban is just take a look at tomorrow's fire hazard map. Now, we've been seeing lots of warm temperatures and dry conditions across portions of Labrador over the last couple of days. Very high or even extreme, and this will generally continue as we head through the next couple of days. Now, the reason for that is all of that heat and humidity, lots of dry air and lots of sunshine as well. Not really the story across the island, where we've been seeing lots of cloud cover along with some showers. But as this cold front moves through over the next couple of days, particularly through Friday, things will eventually cool down for Labrador, but this may also spark some thunderstorms. Definitely a thunderstorm risk tomorrow, but maybe even on Friday as well. Zooming out a little bit, you can see, or zooming in a little bit, I should say, you can see some thunderstorms just to the south of Newfoundland at the moment. This is actually going to head over the Avalon, it looks like, over the next couple of hours and through the early morning hours tomorrow, which could spark some thunderstorms as well. We'll talk all about it when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, police are asking for the public's help to find a man who's been missing since Canada Day. 74-year-old Robert Bone was last seen in Twillingate on Saturday. His car was found in Fairbanks the next day. Police say searchers have looked around the area where the car was found. They've also searched the coastline and carried out aerial searches. The RCMP is asking anyone with information to please get in touch. And police in Harbour Grace are warning the public of a man approaching young people and asking for sex. They say a man was operating a gray van in the residential area of Carbonear on Monday. The man approached two young girls asking if they wanted to have sex. The girls ran away and told an adult. The man is described as being in his 30s, having dark-colored skin and a mustache. Police are seeking video footage of a gray van in the area of Burdens Hill in Harbour Grace before 8 p.m. on Monday. Well, a number of community groups want the city and the province to reconsider funding they're giving to the Downtown Safety Coalition. Governments gave $180,000 to the coalition, which is made up of several groups, including the RNC, the George Street Association, and Music NL. They want to increase safety in downtown St. John's, but other organizations originally involved with the coalition are speaking out against the funding, saying the focus is now on policing rather than poverty reduction to improve safety.
The biggest piece of work that needs to be done is a reduction in poverty, more affordable housing, more access to food, more public education on how racism works. It was really about providing people with the supports they need when they're living in poverty. So when we saw that campaign came out where it was about reporting things to the police when you see them, a public education campaign about reporting things you see in your community, it was a real concern for us. So this is a group that's made up of police, of tourism, of hospitality, people from the George Street Association, Music NL, and government. And those people have a certain kind of knowledge and a certain kind of skills. The people who are writing this letter alongside us, we work in community. We work with people who face marginalization. These are can be two very different groups. And when we bring our knowledge and skills together, we can build something better. But when you come up with a group that is just made up of industry, just made up of business, it can be more difficult to come up with an inclusive idea of what safety can look like, and inclusive ideas of how we can build that.
Wild eggs can be a healthy source of protein, especially on the coast of Labrador. But there's a warning now to not eat too many. Here Now's Heidi Adder has more on why.
Wild eggs are a common part of a northern diet and something people in Anansiavut enjoy and freeze to eat later in the winter. But the Anansiavut government is warning against eating too many. The government started monitoring the coast off Postville after a 2020 diesel spill. Now their research has shown that there is diesel and other oil contaminants in wild eggs in Postville and Nain.
There is a cancer risk if you eat a set number of eggs, as outlined in our maximum monthly intake, 12 months of the year for 70 years. And obviously last year we would have picked this up, and we didn't have those high molecular weight compounds last year. So, but again, people need to be cognizant of that.
People throughout the North Coast are being asked to limit the number of eggs they eat from great black-backed gulls, common eiders, and black guillemots. Children under 4 have special guidelines as well. Gowdy says the eggs are safe and people may become more unhealthy if they stop eating them completely. But Anansiavut wanted to put out the guidelines to give people the information they needed about the amount that could have long-term effects.
Again, some of them are very high. Some of them are very, very low. So you need to be cognizant of that if, as you're, creating your meal of eggs.
Gowdy says there were diesel contaminants found in char in the Postville area as well, but those are not near threatening levels.
It's still below any kind of, health advisory. So char is safe to eat in Postville. We just let people know that, yes, we have picked up diesel contaminants. And we continue to work with Health Canada and, researching that and what that actually means for our people.
Gowdy says Anansiavut is expanding their testing this year to have a better understanding of where oil compounds are found in country food. Gowdy says not all the contaminants can be linked to the diesel spill and may have different or multiple sources. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Happy Valley, Goose Bay.
An Atlantic company that began in Newfoundland is seeking bankruptcy protection. Big Eric sells equipment and other supplies to restaurants and institutions. The company began in Newfoundland as SanaPro in 1945. Now, in a news release, the company attributes its financial difficulties to the unprecedented financial and emotional impact of COVID on customers, suppliers, and employees. It also points to high interest rates and inflation, making it difficult to repay the loans the government offered to help businesses during that time. So Big Eric says it's taking advantage of the federal law to get a court-ordered stay of proceedings while it restructures. We have an update now to a story we brought you yesterday. The RCMP is confirming that its investigation into an explosion at the Brea Renewable Fuels Refinery is still active and ongoing. No charges have been laid, and the Mounties say they are continuing to work in consultation with provincial occupational health and safety. One worker died and 7 others were seriously injured in the flash fire at Come By Chance last September. According to search warrant documents obtained by CBC News, the RCMP launched a criminal negligence investigation earlier this year. Well, a new carbon tax kicked in this month. It means about 3 cents a liter extra on gas, but a whopping 16 cents a liter on home heating fuels. The NDP MHA for Labrador West says that's too much. Jordan Brown says the provincial government has the ability to offset that expense by removing the HST on heating.
Are going out there, yelling towards Ottawa, saying, "Oh, the carbon initiative and all this, and plus the cost of living," saying, to repeal it. But the province actually has tools in its toolbox to actually help the situation, and they're just not utilizing that. They could actually remove the provincial portion of the HST from energy, so from home heating fuels and residential electricity. They can actually remove that, and it was done before by a previous Conservative government, but reinstated by this current Liberal government. But, in this province, we know that winter comes very quickly and very fast. So, we should be doing something now, getting ready for the next winter.
Now, the provincial government extended an 8-cent cut in the fuel tax in this year's budget and is offering $500 to many people who heat with oil. In a statement from the Department of Finance, under the terms of our agreement with Canada regarding the harmonized sales tax, we have very limited ability to accommodate exemptions on specific goods and services such as home heating oil. Well, it is certainly construction season in Brook. One of the main streets is completely blocked off while crews replace sewer and water lines, and the work will not be complete anytime soon. Here now's Colleen Connors explains.
Detour, detour, detour. The signs are all over the city as traffic diverts around Mount Bernard Avenue, a main road in the center of the city that is currently a massive construction zone.
Unfortunately, when you do a major project on a major road like that, you have to incorporate some detours. So it's difficult for people, but it's necessary to get these projects done so we have brand new, fantastic infrastructure.
Crews are replacing everything on the street. The water system, storm system, the sanitary sewer system, even the curbs, sidewalk, and road base. Why? For 2 reasons. 1, the aging infrastructure. 2, the sewer lines need to be increased to handle the new hospital site just up the road from here. It's an $11 million project with the cost split between all levels of government. The work is broken down into 7 smaller sections, so the detour zones through the residential streets change frequently, causing a lot of backed up traffic.
What we would ask people is to please pay attention to the signs, the traffic control people, pay attention to them, follow the signs, go slow. I always say to people, think of it like you're driving through your own neighborhood.
3 of the 7 sections are complete, but there is still a lot of work to do. Charter says that drivers can expect construction and detours and road closures all along this main drag all summer long. But the whole main road will open to traffic in the fall. This is not the only section of construction that's happening in Brook right now. Ramps on the Lewin Parkway and here at the base of Massey Drive have been closed for months, causing detours to different sections of the Trans-Canada Highway. The Transportation Department says both areas have infrastructure issues and work is ongoing. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, bird flu hasn't hurt the puffins in the same way it hurt other marine birds. Find out one theory about why.
Well, temperatures overnight very mild across the island. Across Labrador, cooler, but your temperatures are going to get warmer. We'll talk all about it coming up.
Well, before we get to the weather, Ashley, we want to talk about one of Newfoundland and Labrador's biggest attractions, the Puffin. Now, they're pretty common here, but a lot of work has been done to reintroduce them into New England where they were heavily hunted. Just have a look at this.
So this is an online stream where you can watch them from New England. Puffins have done a lot better than other birds over the last year as the bird flu has taken its toll on other species.
Oh, such a great video. And today on The Current on CBC Radio, Ian Jones from Memorial University talked about why that is.
There's two possibilities. One is somehow their immune system is biochemically different from MERS and gannets, and it rendered them relatively immune. That's a possibility. The other thing that's is quite noticeable is both the MERS and the gannets are much less socially distant species than puffins. So puffins nest in separate burrows. They do stand around looking pretty and looking at each other. But relatively speaking, northern gannets and common MERS, they're practically, well, they are basically touching one another in their super dense colonies. So that created a system we suspect probably exacerbated the transmission of the highly pathogenic flu. Well, Atlantic puffin, as I mentioned, they're doing relatively well compared to some other seabird species, and so that's cause for hope. On the other hand, within their Atlantic range, the ocean temperature is increasing more rapidly in the eastern Atlantic, so around the British Isles, Norway, the Faroes, and Iceland. And there's definitely some very worrying signs that the water is simply getting too hot to support the puffin's prey and the puffin populations, and so there's the possibility of drastic declines in the eastern Atlantic.
So some good news and bad news, I guess, wrapped into that. Good news that they're not being affected as much by the bird flu, but that climate change is affecting their food supply. And you actually got to do one of those releases that we just saw on the video there from the Puffin Patrol, right?
I did, from the Puffin Patrol. That was a very, very fun experience, that's for
bet.
sure.
I'd love to do that. Okay, so let's talk about the weather. Very humid out there. How's it looking over the next tonight and tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, as we look east, we're seeing a lot of the humidex, but as you head towards the north, it's just straight up hot. Let's take a look at the temperatures there. 30 degrees in Lab City today, same thing for Churchill Falls. But if you head towards coastal areas of Labrador, you're generally sitting in the teens, upper teens for some, and temperatures noticeably cooler today, especially towards the northeast coast. 10 degrees in St. Anthony, only 10 in Twillingate as well, but there is still some of that warmth. Terra Nova topped out at 22 degrees, same thing for St. John's today. You factor in that humidity, like I said, feels more like 25 right now in St. John's, 27 in Deer Lake, but not a whole lot of humidity up across Labrador. It is just hot. So it feels like 32 in Lab City, but you will start to see some of that humidity move back in as we head through at least the next couple of days. But right now we've got a heat warning. Environment Canada has a heat warning anyway for Churchill Falls and the Valley, and you're looking at your temperatures into the 30s again tomorrow, even 30 to 33 degrees as your daytime high. So certainly, if you're outside, make sure that you are well hydrated. Now, taking a look at what's going on right now across the island, we do have this area of low pressure spinning showers around. Very isolated in nature, but certainly still there. There were some peaks of sun today as well. But zooming in, you can see some of those showers working their way north at the moment, but some heavier showers just to the south. And if I zoom out even more, there are some thunderstorms developing as well, and that's to the south. It does look like these thunderstorms are going to make their way towards eastern Newfoundland as we head through the night tonight into the early morning hours, particularly for eastern Newfoundland. Then as we get into the morning, it'll curl, at least the potential will curl through along the northeast coast and then into central. Now, tomorrow afternoon, Lab West will see that thunderstorm risk as well. So let's time it out. Here's a look at the future tracker tonight. As we head into after midnight, looks like some periods of rain will develop. This is where we're going to see that thunderstorm risk for the southern Avalon to start, and then eventually eastern Newfoundland as we get into the 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, onshore flow is going to keep things cool by the time we get through the overnight tonight, but you're still looking at that chance of some fog patches towards the northern portion of the northern peninsula, and then really just showers along all the coast. Quiet weather up across Labrador. However, it will stay mild tonight. Only 16 degrees in Lab City as your overnight low, and then temperatures across the island cooler than they has been over the last little bit. Nice to open up some windows, at least a crack before that rain comes in. 7 degrees overnight in St. Anthony. Taking a look at tomorrow's forecast, at least the potential for some thunderstorms. That will continue again through to the afternoon, and then again that potential across the northeast coast. Labrador, you'll see your potential for thunderstorms later on in the afternoon, and behind that, you are still going to hang out with this heat and humidity as well. It'll still feel a bit more humid through tomorrow. Now, as far as temperatures are concerned tomorrow, a little cooler than it has been as a little bit of a front moves through. So again, into the teens, not nearly as humid either tomorrow. It's still going to stay humid though for the Avalon. 24 degrees, feeling more like the upper 20s into the afternoon. Winds not overly impressive either out of the south or generally north, but that's why we have these cooler temperatures. St. Anthony again, only 10 degrees, 9 in Twillingate, and warmest. Finally, you're going to see a bit of a break in the cloud cover, at least for Port aux Basques, around 18 degrees and some sunshine as we see a change in those winds. Labrador, 32 degrees in Lab City tomorrow, 32 in Churchill Falls. Again, lots of sunshine for Happy Valley Goose Bay, but you're going to stay cool towards the southeast coast. Now, temperatures will cool down for Friday and into parts of Saturday. I'll get into the details coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, do you remember the statue of the little boy peeing off the former beer market building in downtown St. John's? It was a replica of the famous Belgium statue. It raised eyebrows when it first arrived, and then it disappeared when the business closed a few years later. So if you ever wondered where it went, consider the mystery solved.
We're in downtown St. John's on Harbour Drive in front of the new beer market. We're asking people, what do you think of that little statue, the little boy there? So what do you guys think of the little statue up there with this little bird hanging out?
It's an attention getter.
Yeah.
He seems to be concealing something.
Yeah, it's like one of them little cupids, the cherubs kind of thing, right?
I guess that's one way to put it.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we should put like one of those fishing hats or something at least
over
on.
Southwester
when you walk by.
We have a naked lady.
Oh, we're in PEI?
PEI.
Oh my God, naked
down-
lady.
Yeah.
What do you think they're going to call us?
I don't know, Piddle Petey.
Well, that's a statue I modeled for when I was a kid.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, that's me.
I knew I recognized that statue from somewhere.
He
He had
one
a
of
little
them.
too much beer to drink.
Yeah, he had one or two smileys.
Just a few.
So this is our peeing boy, and I found him, well, I first spotted him downtown at the beer market, and when I first spotted him, I wanted him, but obviously he was not for sale. But then COVID happened, and long behold, the beer market closed, unfortunately. But for me, it was great because I ended up with the peeing boy that I wanted. My daughter messaged me, and he was for sale on Marketplace, and the gentleman who I think maybe had purchased him, his wife wasn't too fussy, but I was really fussy. So I loved him, and here he is now up in Mobile with his new home. And this is where he'll stay forever. And he will never wear a jersey.
Oh, well, if that new owner looks familiar to you, you might recognize her from last week on our show. She runs that brand new little white wedding chapel in Mobile, the one with the big stained glass window of Elvis. So when our cameras went out to do that story and saw the little statue, they just had to ask for an update. So now you know, the little chapel and the little boy statue are at Mom's Place Airbnb in Mobile on the Southern Shore.
Wanted to make sure that we were able to give back to the employees, be able to have some additional time to be able to enjoy the hot weather when we get it.
Well, how does a long weekend, every weekend, sound? Why one company is going to a 4-day work week this summer. Well, lots of people are enjoying a 4-day work week this week because of Canada Day, but imagine having a shortened work week all summer long. 3 days off, 4 days at work. Well, St. John's company Newfoundland Marketing has adopted that model this summer. Part of the motivation stems from a brush with death the company president had 6 years ago. Sheldon Payne had a heart attack at age 39, and that prompted a change in the work-life balance for him and his employees.
Ever since we've been in business, we've had a 4.5-day work week in the summer. And then this year we discussed it, and with summers being so short in Newfoundland and Labrador, that we wanted to make sure that we were able to give back to the employees to be able to have some additional time to be able to enjoy the hot weather when we get it, which is typically maybe 1 or 2 weeks, but hopefully longer this year. So the plan is just to be able to have everyone to have that extra day to chill out and relax if they want, or if they want to get away for a weekend for a short staycation, take a long weekend out of town for hop, skip, and a jump to a nearby city. I think it's great to be able to provide the flexibility. One thing I've noticed as well is that if you look at our workforce, 9 to 5 has been around forever. And the industry that we're in particular, in the marketing industry, there's always been kind of the thought that people work consistently late, all work-ins and evenings and weekends. And that's kind of a bit of a stigma that I wanted to change when I started the company. Everybody wants to get everything done. When you think about the song, everybody's working for the weekend, as an example. So you want to make sure that you can get everything wrapped up, go into the weekend knowing that there's nothing that's hanging over you to finish. We also have systems and processes that we use, the tools that we use for project management, to make sure that all the tasks that we have to get done for our clients, they're done and completed before we wrap up the week.
I was a bit surprised, actually. The past few years we've done half days on Fridays, which is really nice, but to be able to get the whole day kind of opens up so many more possibilities for summer activities. So it's pretty exciting.
How has that changed things for you?
Well, it means now I can leave on Thursday if I want to go, I do a lot of traveling, so if I want to go explore another part of the province, like go to Bonavista or out to Gross Morin even, now I could leave Thursday right after work, and I don't have to be back till Monday, so that just gives me another whole day to go. Summer's so short here, so the more time we get to enjoy it, the better.
And in terms of productivity, what kind of a difference does that make? Because you're spending less time in the office, but are you getting as much work done?
I think we are, yeah. Fridays, especially if it's a sunny day, it's kind of a little bit of a, you're antsy to get out going anyway, so I think we're just more motivated to get everything done Monday to Thursday, so that we have that whole day off and know that everything has been taken care of.
So back in July of 2017, just playing hockey with a group that I've played with for quite a while. At that point, just started to feel, a little tingle down the shoulder, a little chest pain. Should have thought something of it, didn't really think anything of it. But then later that night, I went to the hospital, and I had a heart attack. At the time of being 39 years old, I had 2 young girls, 4 and 2. Life changes pretty quick. So as part of the work environment that I wanted to instill, with a lot of the life changes that I had to make, being able to give my employees the flexibility to work on their terms was a really big decision in terms of having the 4-day work week, being able to get out, move around, because we sit a lot in a lot of the work that we do. Again, there's things that happen in life that you kind of think about, and that's probably one of the biggest ones. Thinking about my 2 young girls was probably the biggest thing for me. Especially now when I look back over the last 6 years of all the things that potentially could have missed, like their entire school life, the activities they're in, the friends they've made, the things, watching them grow up and they become such strong girls.
I always found that weekends are way too short when you're trying to do, your life admin, get the groceries, clean the house, have a little bit of time to relax. But now with that 3rd day on the weekend, I could get out for a hike and I still know my laundry's done. So yeah, it's that extra time definitely just opens more doors to get out and do things like go for bike rides or go hiking.
Is it something that you would like to see year-round?
I'd love it year-round. There's less motivation to get outside in the winter, but I think having the 3 days just to mentally reset is really helpful. The job that I do requires some creativity, and sometimes when you're just, day in and day out and you only get 2 days in between, it can be hard to do that reset.
It's not about clocking in the hours, it's about being able to get the tasks done that you want to be able to get done for the clients that we serve. So sometimes, some of the work that we can do can be done faster, so, why take the extra time and just sitting around and waiting? So I think it's just easier, to work smarter, think about what needs to get done, be able to work with your team and get those things completed. So it's one of those things that hopefully we can kind of keep this year and next year, years after that. And who knows, maybe we even stretch it into things that go beyond the summer over time as well. So we'll see what the future holds.
Interesting approach. Well, millions of Canadians have received hundreds of dollars from Ottawa today. It's money promised in the federal budget and meant to help cover the rising cost of everything, especially grocery bills. The CBC's Jean Laroche tackles the questions that'll be top of mind for most about the federal grocery rebate.
Starting today, you might be getting a little more cash in your pocket. The so-called grocery rebate is being issued to help low and middle income individuals and families. Here's what you need to know. Your first question might be, do I qualify? Well, if you already get the GST HST credit, you should qualify for this one-time payment, so long as you filed your 2021 tax return. But there are two things that the Canada Revenue Agency says you need to keep in mind. You'll get the grocery rebate if you were entitled to the GST HST rebate as of January 2023, but it's possible you might get the grocery rebate and not the July GST HST credit, since the tax returns on which they're based are from different years. Whatever your situation, you don't need to apply for the grocery rebate. You either qualify or you don't, and the money comes automatically. About 11 million Canadian households will get something. How much will I get? Probably your second question. The approximate breakdown will be up to $234 if you're single, $306 if you are married or have a common law partner, and then you'll get $81 for each child under 19 years of age. For example, if you're single and have 4 kids, you could receive up to $628 according to the CRA. You'll get the payment either as a check or a direct deposit. Now keep in mind, this is a one-time payment. It's not a reoccurring amount like the GST HST credit, even though it's being rolled out through that program. And while it's meant to offset rising grocery bills, how you use the money is entirely up to you.
Well, be sure to tune in to Newfoundland Morning tomorrow on CBC Radio. They're talking to a nurse practitioner in Grand Falls, Windsor, who does house calls on the side, and how that gives him a chance to look inside people's lives and ask questions about preventative care. Israel has ended its two-day incursion in the occupied West Bank. At least 12 Palestinians were killed during the air and ground operation, and funerals were held today. Thousands marched through the streets. Angry crowds confronted senior members of the Palestinian Authority over what they say was a weak response to the Israeli operation. The fighting damaged buildings and roads and cut water and electrical service in the refugee camp. Israel says it was going after militants using the camp as cover. One Israeli soldier was killed during the incursion. Well, King Charles received the honours of Scotland today. Today's event resembled a coronation, but not quite. The ceremony in Edinburgh was a nod to Scotland's distinct history, and as Chris Brown reports, Scots who don't want Charles as king were out in force.
Edinburgh's Royal Mile looked its colourful best as Scotland bestowed its highest honours on a new king and queen.
I'm in love with him. I just love him, as I do all the royals.
The ceremony had all the trappings of a second coronation, with ancient artifacts, a crown and scepter, along with a newly forged sword. In 1953, Charles's mother, Queen Elizabeth, had a similar ceremony when she began her reign, the intention to recognize Scotland's own distinct history, that it had its own monarchy before being united with England 400 years ago.
And together we dedicate ourselves anew to serving the common good of our nation.
In the presence of the Stone of Destiny, an ancient rock used in the coronation of Scottish monarchs for over 1,000 years, Charles received the crown jewels of Scotland.
In receiving this crown, I so promise by God's help.
So it is a place that's
Coronation expert George Gross says being presented with Scotland's crown would have been especially significant for the king.
Less than a year ago, the king had been standing, paying vigil with his late mother, laying in rest at St Giles Cathedral with that same crown on top of the coffin. That was a very poignant moment.
Outside, Republicans who want to abolish the monarchy tried to shout down the bagpipers and called the whole thing a useless vanity parade.
I'm here today because I fundamentally believe that the monarchy is an outdated institution that has no place in a modern democracy.
Still, no major Scottish political party, even those favouring independence, is pushing to abolish the monarchy. Charles has a close connection with Scotland. He's expected to spend his summers there, just as his mother did. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Here's an unusual one. Officials in Japan are trying to figure out why a small river has mysteriously turned bright green. The Tatsuta River turned lime green sometime overnight, and this was what greeted people out for their morning walks today. It's triggered some local concerns, but officials say testing does show the water is not toxic and there's no unusual odor. Farmers have been asked to avoid using the water for agricultural purposes until further testing is complete. And of course, the cause of the color change remains unknown at this time. Yeah, that's a strange one for sure. I wonder what caused that.
Yeah, it looks like the green screen color.
It does. Actually,
it's exactly what it is.
Okay, so now we're gonna have a look at the long-range forecast, getting to look ahead to the weekend because it's Wednesday.
Yeah, we're already looking ahead to the
weekend. Tomorrow is Thursday, and then it's Friday, and then it's Saturday.
You got that right. It looks a bit unsettled, unfortunately. We're actually going to see a bit of a cold front move through. That is going to bring some relief from that heat and humidity across Labrador. Take a look at this. So this is your forecast for Thursday evening into the morning hours. And you can see that front in the green is what it is. But it's in behind this front right here. We are going to see some colder air in behind it. So that is also unfortunately going to spark some thunderstorms, and some of them could be fairly significant as well. Lots of instability associated with this one. So that will be the story for Lab West. Now, as far as the island is concerned, we're looking at the chance of some showers. It will be unsettled over the next couple of days. And that's, again, just the pattern that we're in. Now, you're still going to see some sunshine. Likely towards the west coast, that'll be the best chance of seeing the sunshine, but the temperatures are going to sit generally between 19 to about 23 degrees. It is, again, still going to be fairly humid for eastern areas of the island, but for the northern peninsula and along the northeast coast, your temperatures will be a tad cooler again, about 13 degrees. Now for Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures hovering around 22 degrees for Cartwright, Happy Valley, Goose Bay at 29, and again another hot day for Lab City, but cooler than it has been or will be over the next couple of days, but still quite warm. Now as we head into Friday evening and into Thursday, this cold front will move through, and it's going to cool the temperatures down fairly significantly. Now across the island, we're still looking at the chance of showers lingering right through the day. We may see some clearing trend, at least through the afternoon hours, through parts of central and eastern Newfoundland, but temperatures are going to start to bump up again, and we're also looking at that humidity returning island-wide. Now up across Labrador, there's that drop in temperatures down to 22 degrees for Lab City. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, you'll sit around 26 degrees, and again, you may see that risk of some thunderstorms in the mix. You will eventually see some relief from that warmth as the front continues to work its way further east. Cartwright, you'll sit around 24 degrees. Now the long range forecast showing a cool down as we get towards the end of the weekend and into the beginning of next week. Also gray skies with the chance of some showers. Now just a reminder that tonight and into tomorrow morning, if you hear a few rumbles of thunder, especially or potentially even here in the metro area, that's what we're looking at. So as far as central Newfoundland is concerned, you're looking at a temperature between 25 and about 26 degrees through the weekend. Monday, you're looking at some gray skies and about 24. Then for western Newfoundland, 24, 25 degrees right through the remainder of the weekend and into next week, as your temperature, as you look at the potential for some showers. Now for eastern Labrador, that shower activity on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, again into the 20s. And then for western Labrador, after we see the potential for some thunderstorms, Saturday looking okay, but Sunday and Monday will return unsettled. Now speaking of beautiful weather, look at this shot. It's been swimming weather, that's for sure. So Paul shared this photo with me about going for a dip in Big Pond and Three Ponds Barrens. Thank you so much for that great shot. If you have any weather photos, best place to send them is nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I was just looking at the weather for Lab West. I guess it's a good reminder about the fire ban that's in place with all that thunder and lightning that's in the forecast there, that there is a fire ban for western Labrador. So no open fires or fireworks, that sort of thing. So,
yeah.
Okay, well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night.
Good night.